Hi guys, yesterday I spoke about an underground explosion possibly occurring on the 13th during the hurricane. News is coming out that Hurricane Florence is slowing down, and trajectories on the maps are showing it kind of reaching the east coast around the 15th, which was the original analysis. Things just keep shifting back and forth in terms of this hurricane. Obviously, the slowing down, speeding up is all weather weapons, and as long as they continue to use those, there's really a lot of different ways that this hurricane could go, but the East Coast is definitely a target somewhere between South Carolina and New York, somewhere between the 13th and the 15th. But I find it interesting that 17 years after 9/11, we're now getting the Tower of Voices memorial on 9/11, and today they've just reopened the subway underneath the Twin Towers, which was destroyed during the 9/11 attack after 17 years. So 17 is very significant. The 17th anniversary of 9/11 is very significant. The memorial and the fact that the subway is just reopened is also an indication of how significant it is. In terms of an underground explosion, it's interesting that they just opened up a subway, which is an underground place connected to 9/11. I don't know if an explosion is going to come from this area, but considering we're looking for an underground or underwater explosion, it's possible that this could be connected to the blackout, and then the next day or within the next couple of hours, the tsunami would follow. So, thought I'd make sure you guys are aware of this subway reopening after 17 years. And then Vladimir Putin has been invited to, Putin and Kim will meet as soon as possible after the North Korean leader sent a direct message to the Russian president after meeting one of his top allies. So, China President Xi Jinping was over in North Korea for the 70th anniversary. Around the same time, we had a top official from Russia over there, and it appears to me like they're all kind of gathering together: Iran, Russia, China, North Korea. With North Korea, it says here when I was reading it, Kim wants peace and is hopeful of making his first official visit to Russia as soon as he is able. And when I read Kim wants peace, I just took that into, there's two ways of looking at how to achieve peace with an enemy. So one way is by coming up with an agreement between you and your enemy, agree to disagree, or put an end to the conflict that you've been going through. The other way of achieving peace on one side is to destroy your enemy. And the fact that North Korea didn't display any ballistic missiles at its 70th anniversary today makes me think that those ballistic missiles are in position. They're no longer available for parades and display. They're in position, ready for use. I can't confirm that, but it's something that I'm suspicious of, considering every year North Korea has paraded their ballistic missiles, and even though you could argue, oh well, they're in peace talks now, I just think that's a cover, because it just doesn't seem likely that those missiles will just be sitting in a warehouse somewhere. They are most likely being positioned or already positioned around the country, waiting for the next couple of days. That's my interpretation. Climate change. I don't really want to talk about climate change. What I want to talk about is how they're comparing the climate change. Climate change caused tsunami twice as high as Big Ben, and more monster waves are on the way, scientists warn. Now you can take that ominously. Obviously, we're looking at tsunami events happening, and that could be an indication, a subliminal message that more of these waves are on the way. What I find interesting is the comparable height. They're always comparing the tsunami to the height of Big Ben, and it makes me wonder why. Obviously, I think London is a potential target as well, considering how close we are with the United States, considering the chemical attacks and allegations against Russia, and considering our involvement in Syria and our funding of the White Helmets and things like that. So it's likely that the UK will be a target. But they always comparing these tsunami waves to Big Ben. So you can see an image down here. This is Big Ben, and the height of Big Ben, 96 meters, and the wave dwarfing Big Ben, 193 meters. This is a comparable diagram to waves that they're talking about historically. But even when you look at the Google Doodle that we interpreted a while back, you've got the image of a tsunami-like wave in the background, this whole waving structure, and the blue, and all these people being blue, suggesting they're underwater. The classified suggesting a secret to do with this whole thing going on. And then you've got Big Ben over here as well, Tower London over here, but Big Ben, and the waves are showing at the kind of height of Big Ben. Again, another comparable tsunami height to that clock tower in the iPad Goat video. The clock tower, which I think is Big Ben, stopped at 12 o'clock, or frozen at 12 o'clock. And then you've got the comparable tsunami wave in the background, taller than Big Ben. And you start thinking, okay, they're showing a lot of tsunamis in all these different medias. I've shown this Ariana Grande end of the video, but no tears left to cry, where we've got a tsunami wave moving in, but I never, I'd say realized, I never mentioned that the tsunami that they're showing in this scene is for the East Coast and the West Coast, because you'll see at this point, she's looking at the tsunami to this side, which would be the East Coast on the east side of the screen, and then it flips round to the tsunami on the West Coast instead, coming from this side. So for me, that's a suggestion that there are two tsunamis destined for the East Coast and the West Coast of the United States, as I believe the West Coast tsunami will be linked with Kilauea, and I think the East Coast tsunami could be linked with Cumbre Vieja, or it could just be the nuclear drone Russian Poseidon that they use. And interestingly enough, while all this is going on, while we're entering into this time frame where we pinned down some dates where we think certain scenarios are going to happen, it's interesting that Donald Trump is able to escape the coasts of the United States by going on this whole campaign tour for the midterms. He was in Montana. Now, on the 13th, when I suspect that some events may happen in New York, he's going to be in Montana. Looking at the map, it's clear. I mean, everyone knows that for the last 2 years that Donald Trump has been president, and even before, his main places of residence are along the east coast of the United States: New York, Florida, Washington, D.C. But just as we're kind of entering into this time frame, all of a sudden, he's over in Montana. Not quite on the west coast, so he's kind of staying in the center of the United States. And I don't know if that's a coincidence or by design. I really think it's by design. Get the president away from the coasts when these things may occur. And I don't think he's going to be, obviously he's going to be in Missouri on the 13th, so he's not going to be in New York. He's not going to be in Washington, D.C. He's not going to be in Florida. He's not going to be in Carolina or Oregon or Washington. He's not going to be anywhere near those, the coast of the east or the west. So again, you can see that as coincidental, but I don't. So I just wanted to bring all that information to you guys. Particular interest in these major milestone markers on the 17th year of the 9/11 event. You know, they could have opened up the subway 16 years after. They could have done the memorial, the United 93 Tower of Voices memorial last year or 2 years ago, but everything they've decided to do it this year. So when people say, I don't think anything's going to happen this year and it's all going to happen in 2020, I don't believe that's the case. I believe that 2020 is going to be significant as well. As I said, I don't think the world's going to end this year. The world has got a while to go before, you know, Jesus returns and sets up the kingdom on earth. But there are going to be some significant milestones past this year. But this year is where we're looking for the events that we've been talking about, all of the events we've been talking about. And then as we come out of that, we'll be entering into a different world, one which is more controlled, and one where the word freedom has a completely different meaning. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.